Hello, Professor David.
Ooh.
So we'll be starting in next 2-3 minutes. Our dignitaries and honorable guests have already joined, so we'll be starting soon.
Very nice and nice to see you again.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Professor David. I am Professor Ravi Shankar. I am professor at IIT Delhi.
Oh, nice meeting you,
And a
Ravi.
friend of Professor Manoj also.
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Closing. So as we approach towards our opening time, I should start now. Hello, everyone. On behalf of National Institute of Industrial Engineering, NITIE, I would like to thank all the dignitaries present here, faculty coordinators, course participants for gracing us with their presence on this occasion as we conclude this month-long journey of learning. Today we have with us our Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Dr. Subhas Sarkar, Honorable Minister of State for Education, the guest of honor, Shri Prakash Gaur, CEO, National Highway Logistics Management Limited, keynote speaker, Shri Dubey, Joint Secretary, Minister of Civil Aviation, and keynote speaker 2, Dr. Ravi Shankar, who is a professor of Operation and Supply Chain Management in the Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Delhi. We also have with us our reputed and world-renowned course instructor, Professor David Simchi-Levy from MIT, USA, and our beloved director, Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari, Director NITIE. NITIE was established in 1963 with a purpose to advance the transformative education in industry-inspired research in different domains of supply chain and operations, thus dedicating itself to help Indian business to make their presence felt globally. NITIE has always embraced its ethos, turning first-class engineers to world-class managers. In the same spirit, it has conducted 4 global online certification courses with Professor David Levy in last 1.5 years. Through these courses, we have trained more than 2,000 students and academicians from all leading IIMs and IITs, 1,500 plus industry professionals from the premier institutes like Micron, Tata Steel, MSD Pharma, Cipla, etc. So allow me to present a very small slide which will glorify the contributions of NITIE to this area. So NITIE was, as I already mentioned, NITIE was established in 1963 by the Government of India with a purpose to advance transformative education and industry-inspired research, thus helping Indian business to make their presence felt. It has proven its excellence by continuously being featured in India's best B schools list and was ranked in 12th among the management school in India by National Institute of Ranking Framework, that is NIRF, in 2021. It is leading the Institute of Operations and Supply Chain Management, and that is evident from the placement statistics of the batch. NITIE attracted 120 plus recruiters for its final placement, with the average salary for the batch being 20.88 lakhs per annum. Thus, NITIE has aligned its vision and activities in line with the current and future needs of the Indian industries, making them vibrant and influential globally. These are some of the previous courses that we have conducted with Professor David Simchi-Levy, starting from Business and Operation Analytics in 2021, Supply Chain Digitization and Management, Business and Operation Analytics in 2022, and End-to-End Supply Chain Transformation through Digitization. About the course, if you say, after success of previous courses, NITIE has launched this need of the hour of course in collaboration with Professor David, considering the disruption in demand supply chain in today's era and application of analytics to mitigate the uncertainties. This is a 12-hour weekend-only course with focus particularly on topics such as supply chain trends, supply chain competency, machine learning-based technology, digital supply chain transformation, supply chain resiliency, and the impact of COVID-19 and US-China trade war and the Ukraine war on supply chains. These are our beloved course instructors, Professor David Simchi-Levy and Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari. Professor David is most renowned professor and thought leader in the field of supply chain and operations management. He is the editor-in-chief of Informs Journal, that is Management Science. He is the recipient of prestigious Informs Impact Prize 2020 for his work on supply chain resilience. Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari is well known in India, and he's a stalwart in operation and supply chain management area and industrial engineering domain with over 300 publications in international journals. He is the recipient of Most Influential Researcher Award in the domain of operation and supply chain management. He is rated second among many researchers working in logistic and supply chain management in India. If we talk about our course statistics, we have received 370 plus participants from 12 plus countries like India, Korea, USA, Finland, Singapore, UK, etc., with having 60 plus organizations and which are around 300 plus professionals. Most of the organizations include very famous organizations like Micron, Adani, Raychem RPG, MSD Pharma, Cipla, HPCL, Wellmarks, Chris, ITC, General Mills, Deloitte, Johnson & Johnson, etc. Through these sessions, we allowed our participants to share their valuable experience in terms of the course outcome, in terms of their practical application of the analytics in their respective areas. And some of them were from Teneso Clear Air India, TCS, Cipla, Toyota, Raychem RPG, O9 Solution, MSD Pharma, etc. With this, I also thank you to my course coordinators and faculty coordinators and student coordinators for immensely helping throughout the course. Thank you. So now I would like to call upon Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari, Director NITIE, for the welcome address. Professor Tiwari is a higher academic grade professor for the Industrial Engineering and System Management Group at IIT Kharagpur, currently on Lion at NITIE as a director since 2019. His research interests have been supported by several industrial along with national and international research funding agencies. He has published more than 320 papers in reputed journals and is also recipient of Most Influential Researcher Awards. Director, sir, I kindly request you to share a few words.
Thank you, Madam.
Yes, Professor.
First of all, I express my profound regards and Sadar Namaskar to our Honorable Minister, Shri Dr. Subhas Sarkar ji, who is a member of Parliament from nearby constituency of our working place, IIT Kharagpur. And I know very well he is one of the great philanthropists and worked to the very lower segment of the society for their benefits. And Honorable Minister is very kind enough and he has been very regularly featuring in the different aspects of promoting the NEP as well as some of the Indian knowledge systems among the different institutions run by Government of India. And I'm also very much thankful to you that two of my colleagues belong to this constituency. And we have feel very fond of very high regards for Dr. Subhas Sarkar ji, and one of the reasons that for his continued association with us is for the support to the institutions like us, and we express our utmost regards to him for coming to our platform and chief guest. I also express my utmost regards to Sri Prakash Gaur ji, who is our guest of honor today, and also he is the owner of famous ropeway company. And then he also taking the responsibility of building the multimodal park to enhance the logistic operations. And he is the CEO of National Highway Logistics Management Limited. Our beloved secretary, Sri Sanjay ji, has very high regard for Prakash ji, and accordingly, we are very much blessed to see him here at our platform. And you will be very happy to know that recently our Honorable Prime Minister has launched Drone Mahotsav, and the man who is responsible for conducting the entire program and bringing a lot of changes in the aviation policy is a dynamic and young IT professionals who has BTech from IIT Bombay and MBA from IIM Ahmedabad is none other than Sri Dubey ji. He is here, and my Sadar Namaskar to him. And currently he is holding the Joint Secretary positions in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and we feel gratified by his presence here. We have a very renowned professor who has done a lot of work in the operations and supply chain management. And I think in India, his publications and citations are highest among all kind of researchers who are working in this domain. And fortunately, today we have seen both the Ravi Shankar ji and David on the same frame, and where I have seen that they have been David is the key author. Actually, his book is very popular throughout the world. And for Indian edition, Ravi Shankar is one of the co-author. So we are very happy to see both of them in the same frame today. So Ravi Shankar, you are most welcome here. And among other specialists here, our beloved Atul Kulkarni ji, who is our former board member and also advisor in many aspects to us. He is also in the panelist, and we also welcome Atul ji to have this platform. So now coming to the main topic here, that as you know that recently we have been positioned by our Honorable Secretary ji as one of the station for PM Gati Shakti mission, where the idea is to enhance the different kind of logistics and supply chain activities under the different banner and to avoid the interministerial differences on so many issues. And because of that, we have also one more facility which is here, that is called the Center of Excellence on Logistics and Supply Chain Management. This was inaugurated by Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Minister of Commerce and Industry. So this program basically designed to impart knowledge and skill to the professionals who can learn the current upheavals and uncertainty in the demand aspects of supply chain, which is creating a lot of problems because of the COVID and because of many other risky affairs which were brought to the world by virtue of the ongoing tussle between Russia and Ukraine. And then keeping all this thing in mind, we thought that let us invite world famous renowned scientist who has been blessed with many honors and awards. And he also leads one of the toughest journal of the world called Management Science, Professor David Simchi-Levy. And we are lucky enough that he chosen NITIE as his platform to disseminate his knowledge to the large number of professionals and students who are working and they want to come to the logistics sphere for helping the industry as well as to minimize the logistic cost, which is highest in the world. That is 14%, and idea is to bring it down to the 8 to 9%, which is the dream of our Prime Minister. And through PM Gati Shakti, we want to achieve such kind of mission. And Professor David is one of the thought leader who has brought the idea of stress test in the domain of supply chain. Because of that, essential commodities supply and requirements can easily be judged well before its real operation starts. So keeping that in mind, he designed this course, and accordingly, we have been blessed with the different kind of topics which have been covered under this subject. They are ranging from supply chain segmentations, supply chain digitization, application of risk exposure, and then supply chain flexibility, redundancy, and resiliencies. So all these topics till now, and in addition to that, unified demand overview and development of effective demand forecasting methodologies. This have been covered very nicely by Professor David through case studies and examples which he himself done with the world-renowned industries. So with this note, now I request Professor David to say a few words about the course that he conducted, and I request him please come and say something about the course that you have undertaken with us. Professor David, please.
You, Professor Manoj. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to all our guests from Professor Ravi Shankar, whom I have known for quite some time by reputation. Welcome to our keynote speaker, the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, the CEO of the National Highway Logistics Management Limited, of course, our chief guest, the Honorable Minister of State for Education. Welcome to our colleagues, and of course to our participant. I'm really honored to be part of this partnership between NITIE and my education and my college at MIT. This class is really about supply chain and logistics laws of physics. As you remember, it was all about focusing on the relationships between variability, inventory, capacity, service level information. And in this process, we introduced new concepts like the bullwhip effect, like a unified view of demand, supply chain segmentation, control tower. All of these are driven by science. But just an important word of caution. Supply chain is not just science. Effective supply chain strategies bring together science and art. Science is all the laws of physics we talked about. Art is about your experience, your insight, your intuition. It's this combination of the two that can make a big impact on bottom line. And with today's supply chain challenges, it's an opportunity for business professionals to make a difference. The supply chain challenges that we are facing today, we have never seen before. Think about this as a new normal with US-China trade war, with COVID, with the war in Ukraine, with climate change. We need a business professional that understand supply chain very well. These changes also imply significant, big opportunities for countries like India, because we see companies are starting to reconsider their supply chain and logistics strategies, bringing opportunities for countries like India and Vietnam. But in order to compete in this marketplace, it's not about low-cost strategies. It's not about low-cost manufacturing. It's really about data analytics and automation. And this is what Professor Manoj and myself tried to do over the last 4 weeks. I hope that this concept and experience in this class will help you in your day-to-day work. And I will recommend thinking carefully about continuous learning, because the future challenges that you will see in your work are different than the challenges that we have seen before. And so congratulations for participating and graduating from this course. And I look forward for future opportunities to interact with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor David, for your insightful words. It is always an honor and an enriching experience to hear from you, sir. Now I welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Ravi Shankar, who is the Professor of Operations and Supply Chain Management in the Department of Management Studies at IIT Delhi. He is Fellow of prestigious Indian National Academy of Engineers FNAE. His research citation exceeds 33,175 with an H index of 77 by February 2022. His areas of interest include business analytics, optimization, project management, sustainability, technology management, and innovation. Honorable Minister of Human Resource Development honored Professor Ravi Shankar with Outstanding Faculty Award in March 2018 in domain of business management accounting during 2015 and 17. This was organized by a Career 360 Faculty Research Award. On January 2019, Professor Shankar received R.P. Mohanty Gold Medal for Outstanding Teacher Award for the year 2018 by Indian Institute of Industrial Engineering, Mumbai, India. Professor Shankar was conferred the prestigious Fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineers in December 2017 in the Interdisciplinary Engineering and Special Fields Section X. Professor Shankar is also an outstanding researcher and teacher. It is our immense privilege to mention that Professor Ravi Shankar is co-author of the book Designing and Managing Supply Chain Concept Strategies and Case Studies, which we have already distributed among our participants, and he is the co-author of that book. We'd love to hear a few words from you, sir. The stage is all yours.
Madam, I am requesting you to tell little bit slowly. At least you reduce your speed 20%. It will be
Surely,
very
sir.
good.
I'll adhere to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning and good evening, depending upon which part of world you are. With great reverence and respect, I say pranam to all the dignitaries who are in this panel. Just to save time, I will be little brief. I thank first Professor Manoj for giving me this opportunity to speak for a few minutes. For me, Professor David is a role model and always inspired with his research and new concepts. This program was very effective in knowledge dissemination of core concept and application for the practicing world of Indian supply chains. I am teaching and doing some research in this area at IIT Delhi since past about 25 years. And this period is almost same as that of Professor Tiwari. We graduated almost at the same time. And I can say with a lot of confidence that all the topics and the cases and the examples covered by Professor David were very, very, very relevant to the Indian industries. Let me give you 2-3 examples to convey my point. Professor Manoj mentioned about the Prime Minister Gati Shakti. David, Gati is speed in Hindi and Shakti is the power. So Prime Minister envisions the giving power to the speed in the logistics, and that's the aim of the PM Gati Shakti. Indian logistics cost, as we all know, is about 14% of the GDP compared with 7 to 8% of the developed nation. Now, this gap is a big gap. And to bridge this gap, as we were always talking about in the past, the Prime Minister Gati Shakti aims towards the multimodal connectivity, and a lot of fund has been earmarked to bridge this gap. I'm pretty sure that the concept given by Professor David in this course related to improving the efficiency and effectiveness of supply chain and logistics would be very, very useful. Another example at the corporate level I will like to give, which will really endorse my point, how effective this course was. Especially, I recall attending one session in which Professor David was talking about the push-pull boundary. And this concept, Professor David conveyed to the participants with a lot of passions and many examples. The example that occurred to my mind was of Asian Paints. Asian Paints is the second largest paint company in the world from the point of view of the market capitalization, which is about 46.2 billion US dollar. And this is only next to Sherwin-Williams. Asian Paints uses coloring machine or tinting machine at its dealer shops. Exactly, this is the push-pull boundary which Professor David was talking about. Upstream of this dealer's tinting machine or coloring machine is the is the base paint, which is a white base paint. And as Professor David mentioned, another important lessons of the forecasting, that aggregate forecast is more accurate. So in the upstream of this coloring machine, the supply chain is basically take advantage of the aggregate forecast. So this is nothing but a push system, and the strategic inventory is at the tinting machine, coloring machine, and downstream of that, it's the supply chain is demand driven. This is exactly one of the best supply chains which our Indian corporate world has demonstrated, and this align with the concept given by Professor David in his book and also in his teaching in this course. Another point that comes to my mind is the extremely disturbing situation during the COVID-19. We all were in great problem. The humanity was everybody was in problem, not only in India but all over the world. What really happened is a great example of supply chain which India demonstrated. It was through the Indian Railways. See, the oxygen cylinders, now they were loaded on the truck, and the truck were loaded on the railways, and the railways, they moved the oxygen cylinder trucks from one part of the country to the other part of the country, and these trucks were moving at a very fast speed during the COVID time. We all know about the shortage of oxygen in every hospital. And when they were unloaded from the truck, now what really happened, that the last mile delivery was supported by the local administration at that point of time. What I can say that Professor David talks about two types of supply chain. One is the developmental supply chain, which is the architecture of the supply chain. And second is the order fulfillment supply chain. Now, many times we do not have time to develop the supply chain itself, which was the case in that I just mentioned. You can't, the COVID situation was very unique. And without sufficient time of developing the supply chain architecture, we have to ensure that order fulfillment supply chain works at its best. And I'm very proud to say that India demonstrated very effectively, especially with the help of Indian Railways and local administration, the movement of the oxygen cylinder during the COVID time. So there are numerous examples like these where India has done very well in the supply chain area. The lean supply chain, the concepts being used by the auto sector like Maruti and others, now they are the world-class one. So I know that there are many dignitaries to speak, so I will like to just conclude that such programs by the most experienced and reputed professors like Professor David Simchi-Levy, coordinated and also conceptualized by the most prolific researcher of our country and one of the best teachers of our country and also of the world, Professor Manoj Tiwari, and the course coming out from the best institutes of our country, that's the NITIE Mumbai, can only be the best and nothing else. So I join all present here to thank Professor David Simchi-Levy, Professor Manoj, and his team of support team for delivering such a wonderful course. I thank you all once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those thoughtful words and capturing our audience so well. Now I welcome another keynote speaker, Shri Dubey, who is Joint Secretary at Ministry of Civil Aviation. Shri Amber is an alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Ahmedabad and has a professional experience of over 27 years. He was one of 9 professionals selected in September 2019 by the Government of India to join as a Joint Secretary in the Union Government. At Ministry of Civil Aviation, Shri Amberji is looking after IT, digital innovation, skill development, and job growth, etc. Earlier, Shri Ambu was India Head of Aerospace and Defense at global consultancy KPMG. At KPMG, Shri Amba led several assignments related to policy, strategy, bid transactions, and regulatory issues. He has assisted central and state governments, regulators, airports, airlines, cargo, and MRO companies in India and abroad. Shri Ambar has worked closely with the MOCA in drafting the Vision 2040, National Civil Aviation Policy, and the policy framework for regional connectivity scheme at CS. He had earlier assisted Ministry of Civil Aviation in drafting the 12th five-year plan for aviation. Shri Ambo was honored for valuable contribution to Indian aviation in 2012 by then Aviation Minister. We would love to hear a few words from you, sir.
But you are not audible. Unmute yourself, sir. Unmute yourself, sir.
Can you hear me now?
And now we can hear you.
Namaskar, everyone. It's a great honor, honorable minister, dignitaries in the panel. And when the lady, on a lighter note, when the lady said few words, because several words have already been spoken, so my request to Professor Tiwari would be that we cut down the introduction part. Everybody knows everybody here. It's a small word, so that we focus more on the real issues than all that we did in our remarkable or not so remarkable past. Now, we quickly coming to drones. I think we don't even need to talk about what good or a chamatkari technology this is. It is basically nothing but a CCTV which flies, a robot which flies, a helicopter without pilot. I mean, there are various ways by which you can define it. It basically is a very what do you say, a magic instrument which can do anything which is called 3D, dull, dirty, and dangerous. Anything which is very dull and boring and repetitive, like surveillance and stuff, and dangerous, going into tough terrains where human being going and capturing images or collecting data is tough, and also dirty. Many places, whether it's sewerage or cleaning or lots of places where human beings find it difficult to operate. A drone is nothing but a camera and arms and legs and limbs which can fly. Now the government, we realized our mistake, that this jadui yantra, or this magical instrument, was already available some 50, 60, or even 80 years back. But for some reason, we were maybe so over obsessed with national security and other things, which are all very important, safety and security. Only a fool would say these things are not important. But somewhere, when we have to draw a balance, everything in life depends on a balance. Somewhere the balance tilted more in favor of national security. And in the process, we actually endangered national security, because our good friend China and Pakistan, and also their supporters, Turkey and other countries, they're moving far, far ahead. And if they were just 2 years or 5 years ahead of us, now they're 20, 25 years ahead of us. So there's a big catch up that India has to do. And there's a lot of learning we get from Professor David Levy's own country, Israel, from where we have been fantastic importers. But someday now we have to move on from this tag of being the world's biggest defense importer into a defense, at least self-sufficiency, maybe in the next 10, 20, or 30 years. And then, inshallah, one day getting into the export category, which we have started in a small way, but hopefully we'll move up and up in the value chain, and also exporting not just to smaller countries, but also to the same Western powers from which we are importing currently. Now, since we woke up a little late, we had to do things very fast, and we got a big whack from our Honorable Prime Minister, who perhaps seems to be more technologically oriented than the technocrats themselves. And he's given us this vision of becoming a world drone hub by 2030. That's just 8 years away, and time is running out. And so if you see, there's a flurry of a lot of things happened over the last 2 years, but the output started showing from August last year. So in August last year, we had the drone policy, which completely overturned everything. 25 forms, 20 out of 25 forms cut down to just 5 simple forms, like a motorcycle, just a certification, registration, transfer of certificates, and pilot training, and a drone pilot school. So just five basic forms brought in. within 30 days, we released the India's airspace map, which was supposed to be highly sensitive. Now it is freely available on internet, and we haven't seen yet any terror attack using these maps, because these maps are very low resolution maps. But even then, there were issues about releasing this low resolution map, which has 4,000 red zones of the country marked. Now, and you'll be happy to note that 90% of India, 90%, I'll repeat, 90, not 19, 90% of India is now a green zone, which used to be just about 5 or 10% just about a year back. So 90% is free. Now, any amount of supply chain, either it's railways, roadways, any infrastructure planning, monitoring of actual progress, you can sitting in your offices in Mumbai and Delhi and the topmost echelons of the government, you can actually see a live telecast of whatever is happening. And in the drone Mahotsav that Professor Tiwari alluded to, the Honorable Prime Minister himself said in a jocular but in a very stringent manner that even before the Pragati projects, the top 10 projects of India, which are presented to him every month, even before the official team, the Sarkari team, gives him a Sarkari account, he has his own ways to send a drone and find out what is happening. So that sometimes when we try to sugarcoat and whitewash certain things, the big boss already knows what we're talking about. So now, even if he doesn't send a drone, many of us are very careful that we are actually stating the facts and not trying to paint a very rosy picture. So you name any infrastructure part of supply chain, the roads, the railways, the ports, and the Gati Shakti, whether it's project planning, the route management, the actual infrastructure development, watching progress, even stealing and pilferage on the pipelines. You name a subject or a name an area, and I would struggle to find where a drone cannot be used. Okay, so so we spoke about the airspace map that happened within 30 days of the rules, and also within 6 days of that, 24th September, the airspace map came out. On 30th September, we notified the PLI scheme, which is basically to promote production in the country. And it's a very, very lucrative scheme where the entire production base was just about 60 or 70 odd crores. And the government agreed to a hefty 200% of that to be paid back to the drone manufacturing industry over a space of just 3 years. And then within a month of that, we came up with the UTM policy, the framework, which is basically how does the unmanned and the manned aircraft correlate with each other? Because while 90% of India, there is no restriction, but on the airport, there will always be movement around the airport. So how do we manage that with the flight path of the incoming aircraft, which are coming with human beings sitting inside? And also with the military traffic, because many of these fighter jets and helicopters operate at a very low level airspace, as we call in drones, which is up to 1,000 feet. That's called the VLL, the very low level airspace. So that came out in December, in October, November, December. Again, we worked very hard. In January 26th, we uploaded all the 5 forms. As I said, 25 forms brought down to 5. All 5 were made online in a record time of just 4-5 months on 26th of January. On 26th January, we also came up with the drone certification policy. Because now we want to create world-class export-oriented drones, not just any other assembled drones, which you can just assemble using a little solder and a little YouTube instruction and start selling in the market to gullible farmers or other users, and then create a safety and a national security hazard. So the draft certification scheme came out again on 26th January, and on 9th of February, we also gave a big boost to our local industry by banning all imports. As you know, till last year, 90% of the drones in India came from one country and from one company in that country, which is heavily supported by that country. It's our friendly neighbor up north, beyond the Himalayas. So now on 9th of February this year, after 8 or 9 months of debate, because there are lots of WTO complications, but yet the government took a very bold stand, and the Commerce Ministry, DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade, banned all imports of all drones, and at the same time opened up, made completely free all kinds of components which had to be brought in. Because right now, I mean, first comes the drone, then comes the local component industry. So to support our local industry, we made components absolutely free. Otherwise, it was a reverse case of what you call a reverse harassment, in the sense, while drones were coming in freely from our northern neighbor, and the components may be are genuine researchers in the IITs and NITIEs and the engineering colleges, they were struggling to get a part here or part there. And if a drone needs about some 20 odd parts, and even if one part is not there, it can't fly. So if something is stuck at Mumbai customs or Chennai customs, it's actually hurting the country rather than helping the country. So that was all sorted out on 9th of January and on 9th of February. And on 11th of February, we also remove the remote pilot license, because somehow the Honorable Prime Minister is very anti these licenses and permits where somebody sitting in a ivory tower in a government bhavan decides whether you're good or bad. So it was finally decided that it will not be done. What a DGCA, which is our aviation regulator, will do is to control the schools. So just like somebody, I mean, the education ministry has an oversight over, say, IITs and the NITIEs. Okay, but at the end of the day, Professor Tiwari does whatever he wants to do and gives out degrees as he deems fit to whosoever he deems fit. There's nobody sitting in Delhi in this bhavan or that bhavan coming and telling him what to do. So same principle. DGCA will now look at all the drone schools which apply to us, and if they meet the criteria that we've rolled out, they will be given the opportunity to release drone pilot certificates, and their certificates will then get listed on our online digital sky platform. And that's it. You don't need to come to DGC again and give yet another exam and wait in a queue. And in March, we also rolled out the PLI scheme, the first window, and we selected 14 manufacturers. And now this was for those people who had already crossed the turnover threshold in 10 months itself, from April to January this year. And then once 31st March happened, we again in April again rolled out the second window. And sorry, in May, we rolled out, I think 20th May was the last date. And by 15th of June, we'll come up with the final list of PLI beneficiaries. And I'm happy to report, I mean, the numbers, we are still undergoing scrutiny. We're undertaking scrutiny of the claim forms that people have filed. But what I'm hearing from my team is almost 20 plus. It was 14 earlier. 20 plus manufacturers, and this is a very small industry. 24 plus people will now qualify, and they'll get a cashback from the government for every drone that they produce. So I mean, I've given a very Tufan Mail kind of update on whatever 8 or 9 policy interventions which have happened, both at the policy level, at the incentive level, at the import blockage level, at the demand generation level. Yes, on the demand side also, as you would have seen, Dr. Sarkar, Honorable Minister himself, was there at the Drone Mahotsav, which was inaugurated by the Prime Minister. For the first time in the world, a head of state actually flew a professional drone. This was not some chota mota junjuna, which a toy drone which he flew. It was a proper survey drone which is used. Prime Minister's Swamitwa scheme, which is another legendary scheme through which every village property in every village, there are 6.6 lakh or 664,000 villages in the country. And the Honorable Prime Minister has ordered that every property in every village will be mapped by drones and digitized. And just like your Aadhaar card, your fingerprints were digitized and your iris scan was digitized, the land maps and the property, the corners, the 4 or 5 corners will be GPS tagged, and you will get a photograph of your property along with the GPS coordinates. And this will be a digital card. So once you get your digital property cards, you can actually burn it or tear it. It makes no difference because it's actually tagged to your Aadhaar card and to your identity. So this is one of the biggest revolutions in the world, where such a big amount of people or properties are being mapped, and this will end up all kinds of disputes between brothers and sisters and fathers and kids and cousins. Okay, and going all the way to the local courts for 30 odd years and still not get a decision. So it's a landmark scheme. So all these being happening through the drones. Now, quickly, just to close, because I don't want to drag this too long. From the government side, I think the government has gone way beyond its brief, and some of the demands that we had from the industry and the academia. We have now both the industry and academia say that the government has gone far beyond what was asked, and now it is for the industry and academia to run fast and catch up, so that all together we are all 3 legs of Ma Bharati or Mother India, whatever we call it, and all 3 of us, the industry, the government, and the academia, have to work together and catch up on this huge gap that we have built up with the Western world, who's almost 40, 50 years ahead of us, and our lovely neighbor up north, who's gone at least 20, 25 years ahead of us. We have to catch up, and our biggest strength is our youth. So if all 3 of us get together and support our youth, I'm sure they'll come up with fantastic technologies. They will leapfrog, because the beauty of technology, especially internet and radio communication, IT-based technologies, that we can leapfrog. We can learn from some of the errors or the mistakes or the learnings of other countries and leapfrog, both in civil and defense. On the defense side, nobody needs to be converted anymore to the importance of drones, because all you have to do is to go to YouTube and type Azerbaijan and then type Ukraine, and you see how history is being created with the use of this Jadui Yantra. Okay, so maybe 2, 5, or 10 years down the line, your Samarik Shakti or your strategic importance or your standing in the world will be determined by drones. Even our Indigos and the Lufthansas and the Air Indias, Vistaras of the world will all convert to drones. When you enter a plane, you'll struggle to see a pilot because the pilot will actually be sitting on the ground or underground. And we'll just fly without a pilot on board. So lots of good things happening. India now, as I said, the risk of repetition is that we have a leapfrog opportunity. All of us have to work together and now move towards the analytics part of it. As Professor Tiwari also mentioned, sooner or later, now we have to get to the intellectual part of drones. One is the drone flying part, putting it together, designing drones and manufacturing drones and operating drones. That's all fantastic. But the real part is the software which goes into it, like a laptop or a mobile phone. The hardware part is only 15-20%. 80% is actually the intellectual property which has gone into it in terms of apps and IP and the licenses that you take on your phone or your laptop. It's the same thing with drones. So this is where India has the opportunity, because if 80% of that is all design and thinking and intellectual property, this is where we score, our young kids score. We have to support them. And as you move into post-flight analytics, as to one is the mission planning before you fly. Where do you fly? How do you fly? How do you create a corridor? That's all intellectual and all algorithm based. It can't be done by human beings just looking at a map. And then you do the actual flying. So there is flight tracking continuously happening. And then post-flight, the post-flight is where the statistics, the analytics, and converting raw footage, audio and video, and all kind of cadastral data, whatever data that they capture, to convert that into intelligent insights and use that for policy planning and for reducing the supply chain costs, which many people have mentioned. Ours is about 14, 15, or even 16%. That has to be brought down to single digit and a lower single digit. All that can be done if we use drone technology well. And as I said, the government is there to help you. Any help you require, our doors are open. At a click of a WhatsApp message, we can set up a meeting at Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan, which is our headquarters, and we can take ideas forward and implement them. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, and over to you, Professor Tiwari.
Thank you, Amberji. Now we can really guess that why you are so much endeared to our country's top leadership, because these kind of reforms, which ranges from policy outline to the manufacturing landscape of the flying machine, which you call Jadui Yantra, Jujna, Hilona. So they have plenty of potential, sir, and also we have seen in the logistics during the lockdown that it has played a very key role somewhere, particularly in the lockdown areas for distributing the medicine and other things. And we also are working on a few points where how the coordinated movement of the truck and drone can be combined, and also to help the congestions at the big city. So, sir, we are very much blessed to have you, and the kind of mission you are running, sir, is very dear to our Honorable Prime Minister, and we have seen his technology love right from the beginning of implementing the digital payment and also reducing the cash flow, then coming to the cash payment, and then linking Aadhaar card, and then coming to all other technologies. You people are people who are guiding on this line, and we salute you, sir. Now, I request our another keynote speaker, Shri Prakash Gaur, and you know very well that he is a part of one of the very potential logistic operations, where he is going to have many multimodal hubs, and also he is running the company, sir, which is providing ropeways to the many places. And phenomenal contributions that Prakash Gaurji has made. He is the CEO of National Highway Logistics Management Limited. I request Prakashji to have your words on this particular occasion, where we are talking on demand analytics and supply chain management and many related things. So over to Prakash Gaurji.
Thank you, Professor. A very warm regards to Honorable Ministers. A very warm regards to all Gurujans, teachers. Good evening to my friends in the ministry, Mr. Dubey and other colleagues, and good evening to students who are listening to this. I'm very much thankful for NITIE to inviting me. Especially, I personally believe whenever we start feeling we have all the knowledge, I say go to the academics, they will tell you don't know anything. Because academics is a place where knowledge is spark. That's the reason last 25, 30 years, every 5 to 10 years, I get an opportunity to go to academics, do some or other course. So when I start feeling I know in urban, I go to SAPT and they say, you don't know about anything in urban. So like this, we learn a lot. So thanks. I also must congratulate NITIE for doing such commendable job. And it's really impressive for me to starting such online course in supply chain management and demand analytics and application of technologies, which will really help us in building the infrastructure and building the vision of new Bharat, what our Honorable Prime Minister is thinking, visualizing. Why it is important for us, especially that as you mentioned, that this company, National Highway Logistics Management, just a year-old company formed under the guidance Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, given the mandate of developing 35 multimodal logistics park in the country. And this number may increase to another phase 2 of Bharatmala. But more importantly, this 35 multimodal logistics park itself will have a capacity to handle around 7 to 800 million metric tons of cargo. And these will be really large logistics parks. One can say equivalent to a very mid-sized port. One can see from handling a throughput point of view. But these are not just a kind of dry port. These are not just an ICD or CFS. These are a true multimodal logistics parks which will help with a target what Professor Tiwari and Professor Ravi Shankar spoke about in reducing the cost of what Honorable Prime Minister has in vision that from 14 to 60% reducing to 8 to 9%. So what we are doing at the ministry level and at the special purpose vehicle level is that we are trying to build a very large infrastructure program across which will help industries in a. So in what way it will help in reducing the cost? But when we taught supply chain, I studied subject 20 years before in Europe, a very new, many new concept that time I learned. So one of the concept is you have to really look for economies of scale. And one thing economy of scale, and if you want to reduce the cost competitiveness, you have to look for an intermodal transfer. Because currently our 70% of the cargo moves through the road. If we really have to move the cargo in a very economical way, ideally should be the waterways, and second priority is the railways, and third priority is of the thing. High value and perishable item, it always look at the aviation side, which is to be done. So we are doing some work on the aviation side also. We are building some infrastructure along the highways where drone and helicopter landing is also possible. The smaller cargo or a smaller emergency movement can also happen. So intermodal transfer will happen by which we'll be able to have a drastic reduction in the cost in the transportation modes. But what we're looking from industry per se, that how do we really reduce the cost in other side? What is that in the warehousing? Warehousing will also help in when we develop such multimodal logistics parks, this cost reduction will come. But third, the most important pillar which come in this thing, which is inventory management, where the industry plays a key role in delivering this management. I always say, unless industry work for inventory management, we will not be able to achieve the cost competitiveness what we are targeting. And where the academic role becomes important. And this is not about the large scale industries and small scale industries. Like Professor Ravi Shankar gave my favorite example of paint industries. We as a customer, when I say they give the ad, mera wala yellow, mine red, it is not for the customer. It is for the industry to minimize the cost of the product. Of course, the marketing is helping it in reducing the cost, and which is very well given that you have a white paint in big containers coming to distributors and small pigment in changing this thing is. But my request to the industry and especially in academics is let's explore more to the other industries if we can really go. Because 20 years before, when I, as mentioned again, studied in Europe, I saw a lot of other products were going for mass customization. Can we really do the such thing is, so which can also have the customer and having a specific demand, meeting its needs. On the other side, in the backward supply chain, you are able to reduce the cost of the product. In your course, I see a PC manufacturing was mentioned in that, which again go back to my very classical example of, I say, Dell laptop. In 90s, when this started, though this was seen as cheap laptop, I'm sure Professor David will appreciate that, and Professor Ravi Shankar, that there was no retail shop that time for the Dell. Today it has for obvious reason, but there was no laptop shop. and you order online. E-commerce was also not that popular that time. So you order online and it is assembled at 10 other places, and within 15 days, 12 days, it will deliver these things. Now with such a technology available, demand analytics, when we talk about this thing, is how do we really apply to more products? Because as Professor Ravi Shankar talked about the car industry has tried to reach just in time, which Japan has adopted in 1670s. We are still trying to achieve, but they are doing by force. Because car industry, car manufacturer, be Tata in India, if I'm talking about a Ford or Kia or any other plant, if you visit, they are more like assembling plant. The other plants, other manufacturing system come as ecosystem around that. And the classical example, if one wants to see, is go to Anandpur. 7-8 years before, Anandpur was nothing on that highway when you travel from Bangalore to Anandpur in Andhra Pradesh. But the moment Kia came, a lot of ancillary industries come. But is it the real ecosystem which we have created for the car manufacturers? So do we really need to work on the supply chain systems for the industries, and where we are happy as government to provide a large scale infrastructure, as currently we are working on setting up a large multimodal logistics park in Anandpur itself, where Asian Paint is there, where the Kia Motors there, and few large manufacturers are also coming in. So how do you really bring that ecosystems that reduce the cost? Because the moment my input supply backward linkages is near to me, and I'm assured that the product will be supplied in defined time. It can be day, it can be hour, it can be week. My management production efficiencies will be much more. That will bring the cost down. So, but things doesn't stop here. This we are talking about large scale industries. Let me tell you example of small scale industries also. Before coming to Delhi, I was working in government of Andhra Pradesh, and I was doing industrial economics work also. Where we are looking is how to really help the MSME sectors. So we came up with the concept called economic city. Economic city is nothing but you create a plug and play facilities for small manufacturers and provide affordable housing using Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, provide affordable housings. So you can also help bottom of the pyramid people who work in that need not to travel very far and get a very compact small economic townships where MSME can come and set up. That will really help in bring their upfront investment. They only need to investment in their plant and machineries and the inventories. But let me give you one example. Vijayawada, I started the project. They're almost, a surprise to me, it is a hub of chappal manufacturing. Chappal, Mr. David, is as a sleeper, what we use it. So these are leather or exine sleepers, what they manufactures. Very large number. If my numbers are correct, almost 400 to 500 manufacturers are there in cities and scattered around that thing. And each are very small, produce 200 to 300. When I was talking to them, I was more looking as an infrastructure person that I'm creating some infrastructure for them. But when I look for their requirement, they say, sir, our inventory is 60 days. Because we have to get the material from Bombay and this place and Chennai, and we have to order minimum 30-40 days and takes another 15 days. So inventory is minimum 60 days. And 60-day inventory meaning is 20-25% cost, high cost. So when we talk about the 16% of logistics cost bring down to 8%, this product was bad. So my request to the academics especially, that if, when you do such course, if you can also pick up such case studies and maybe whatever you can bring it to our notice also. We are sitting in ministry, as Mr. Ambar says, we are there at your doorsteps to help you in that doing is tell us these are the issues in this particular industries. In fact, our friend in commerce also are really looking, but now we are working in completely in Gati Shakti gives us complete ecosystem to work together. And let me tell you, Gati Shakti was a dream for us as a planner. 25 years when I did the planning, I thought something like this at the academics level. In 2006-07, I was doing Gift City. I thought we did it something at a very compact level. But at the national level, it was thought I thought this is something amazing going to country. Will it happen or not? But last 8 months, the kind of progress we have seen in Gati Shakti, it's admirable for all the ministries. All the ministries have come out from the silos and they're working together. In fact, let me tell you, not at a higher level. Our PDs, project directors, and the site officers who are finalizing the alignment of the highways, they know where the railway is going, they know where the forest is coming, they know where the high tension line is coming, they know where the high funnel line is coming for the from the airports. That is one part on constraint part. Second is an opportunity part. When I am creating a logistics park, it is available on 35 logistics and PM Gati Shakti plan. So Mr. Amber knows when he's planning the airport and the vice versa, that where this is happening. It is not just available on the platform. At a regular frequency, we meet each other at a 3-level operating level, network planning group, and the CAPSAC level, where the discussion happens and the synchronization comes in all the ministries and the deliveries happens for the project. That will not bring the efficiency also, faster deliveries, and the cost competitiveness of delivering the infrastructure. You mentioned about the ropeways, which is a new subject given to us, which we are working. But 2 major projects, which are rather say 3 major projects which we are delivering now. So there's a large number list which we have received from the various states, almost 200 projects which we are delivering, working on it. But the 3 key projects I'd like to highlight upon, and then like to request for NITIE, because you are doing industrial engineering, it will really help us in developing the profession in this side. Ropeways are very new mode of transport, and there's a myth that it is only for hilly region or it is only for the challenging region. The one project what we are doing is the Varanasi ropeway. Varanasi is you say it's a plain region, why do you need ropeways? But we are connecting the ropeway from the Kent railway station to the temple. It's a 4-kilometer section, but people who are familiar to the Varanasi, especially it's called oldest town of the world, city of the world. But more important, you see, they are not roads, they are streets only. What you call in India, gullies. So you don't get a space even to put the pillars of you want to provide a system. In the evening time when you have a Ganga Aarti, if you want to come out, huge crowd comes. You don't get any transport modes. Sometimes it takes hours to come out from that place. So the demand point of view, the supply point of view, we are able to have a tubular tower in a very small of 2 to 3 meter space, and in a distance of 100 meter span, 200 meter spans, we are able to put the towers. So we are able to provide the same travel time will be 15 minutes coming from hours, which currently happen in the morning to evening. And currently the project is tendered out. We are very sure the next 2 years time, the project will be operational on ground. Another project which we are doing is 2 projects, which I would say already at the tender stage is the Kedarnath and Hemkund site, which Honorable Prime Minister announced during his visit at Kedarnath on the 5th of November after Diwali when he visited that place. Kedarnath is a holy shrine in India, is one of the very toughest terrain we have, and people who have traveled there may appreciate even tracking is a bit challenging. It's almost 14-kilometer track from Gaurikund till Kedarnath. It's an elevation of more than 4,000 meters. And you don't, and when the river passes, the Manakri river passes in that, you don't get the space to put the towers also. You put the one tower, you don't get the space for another tower. So we are doing 13-kilometer system there, which will cater to 5,000 people an hour with only 20 towers. So we have selected the best system of the world, what we call is 3S system, 3 cable systems. We have 35 seater capacities of the cabin. So similar thing we are doing for Hemkund site, which is also equally challenging. In fact, much more than 4,500 elevation, the mean sea level elevation. So these projects will not only help the pilgrims to go there, but also become a very, very touristic place for the people to do a cable ride itself. Because you will not get such cable ride, because you always say go to Europe, go to other places, to the land, and see the infrastructure. In next 3-4 years, you will see that best-in-class infrastructure available with us. The only challenge what I see in this sectors, because sector is just at an infant stage, we are developing the sector in the country. So when you are doing industrial engineering, you start developing academics for this, because we need a huge manpower for this, not only for implementation, but for operation and maintenance also. And it is not just on the industries, government side. The most of the project will be happening on the PPP side, where the private developer will be coming and operating this thing is. So your students who passes through this course may be employed by the private sectors, which can get an opportunities to work in the private sectors and do these things. With this, thank you very much to giving me opportunities. Thank you very much.
So, our sincere thanks to you, Prakash ji, because very nicely you brought out the issues where the need of ropeways and then its manufacturing concept and what are the complications that are coming up. Certainly, sir, we will in touch with you and try to address some of the things by getting much of the, because sharing your experience with us. And particularly, we admire you, sir, for your 35 big multimodal logistic park that you have created, and we salute you for such kind of achievement. And now, sir, I request our Honorable Minister, Dr. Subhas Sarkar ji, who is a well-known philanthropist as well as one of the very novel doctors with specialization in the, you can say, gynecologist operations. And he is one of the well-known medical professionals in those part of West Bengal, sir, which was not actually earlier well connected with the mainland of the things. And many contributions of Dr. Shankar is admirable. And we have seen that he successfully delivered around 33,000 babies in those areas. And also, he is one of the brilliant scholars during his time from, and did his MBBS from the BS Medical College, Kolkata, in the days when it was very difficult to get admission in the MBBS systems. And he is winning from the seat, which is Bankura seat called from 17th Lok Sabha 2019 elections. And he is also member of a standing committee on health and family welfare and member of consultative committee, Ministry of Power and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And we especially have a lot of respect for our Honorable Minister because of many reasons that he is promoting Indian knowledge system through the NITIE as well as bringing a lot of, supporting a lot of reforms in the higher education system. So I request Honorable Minister Subhas Sarkar ji to have his words at this occasion.
Am I audible now?
Sir, you are audible.
Yes. Namaskar. Warm greetings to all. May I request all the participants, honorable members, to start your videos. If is there not any problem in your net connectivity? Honorable Shri Dubey ji, who is the Joint Secretary of Civil Aviation, Government of India, and he is also alumni of IIT Mumbai and IIM Ahmedabad. And he is closely associated, closely participate in the Ministry of Civil Aviation Vision 2040, as well as NC National Civil Aviation Policy 2016. And Shri Prakash Gaur ji, CEO, National Highway Logistics Management Limited, who has just now delivered his speech. And Dr. Ravi Shankar ji, Professor, Operation and Supply Chain Management, Department of Management Studies, Indian Institutes of Technology, Delhi, Professor David Simchi-Levy ji, who is from MIT, USA, and who is also founder and co-founder of many companies, as well as he can be told he is proud for his eminent students all over the world. And Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari ji, the director NITIE, who is the alumni of from my state, that is the IIT Kharagpur. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And as well as Professor Theory is also famous for at most a decision support system for complex and large problems in manufacturing and logistic system. I am happy to be present here virtually at the closing ceremony of the global online certification course on supply chain and demand analytics organized by this institute, that is National Institute of Industrial Engineering, Mumbai. It is indeed a privilege to be part of this eminent panel of the experts. Friends, in recent years, business operations have become substantially more challenging to manage, and the margin for error is rapidly shrinking. Dear all, with increasing competition in a connected digital world, it becomes even more crucial to maximize productivity by reducing uncertainties of all kinds. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision is to make such procedures smoother and faster with the initiative called PM Gati Shakti. The focus of Gati Shakti is on multimodal connectivity with integrated planning and coordinated execution. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji emphasized fully utilizing the demand and supply chains to benefit the economy by empowering the stakeholders in the supply chain. Our government has taken urgent measures to expand the country's vaccine manufacturing capacity and has also developed an efficient digital system and cold chain infrastructure. Dear all, research and industry should go hand in hand. The industry should be accessible to researchers, and a conducive environment should be created to augment the research and development facilities within the industries. I would like to talk about some salient features of the National Education Policy 2020. It clearly states that higher education institutes should focus on research and innovation by setting up startup incubation centers, technology development centers in frontier areas of research, greater industry academic linkage, and interdisciplinary research, including humanities and social sciences research. As an effective weapon in fighting the pandemic, India prepared its vaccine and made it available to the people, not only limited to our own country, but to other nations as well. Also, the vaccine dosage reached to the masses and everyone got the certificate. Till now, they are also getting the certificates instantly. During COVID, India has demonstrated an exceptional experience in successfully ensuring access to adequate food grains. This is very important. To the most vulnerable people in the country, especially through a series of bold technology-based reforms and landmark innovations in the public distribution system, targeting subsidized food grains to the genuine beneficiaries is possible through technological reforms, converting traditional supply chain to digital supply chain. Entrepreneurship and MSMEs, Startup India and Make in India have played a huge role in shaping our new India. Along with Make in India, we have also received a call from our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji to work on the path of Atmanirbhar Bharat. This goal of Atmanirbharata is a fundamental pillar of India's growth as a world power in the coming decades. The Startup India scheme has witnessed a tremendous response, and India is one of the largest hubs of startups in the present times. Dear all, I am happy to see that the National Institute of Industrial Engineering is contributing in every manner to this noble cause by launching this need of the hour, that is, global courses, and making the workforce, the practitioners, and decision makers competent in the logistics and supply chain domain globally, who will handle challenges at various levels. It is remarkable and highly appreciable to see that the program provided rich insights into the contemporary needs of the business by focusing on number one, supply chain needs, and the number two is the supply chain competency. Number three is the machine learning based technology. Number four is the digital supply chain transformation. And the fifth number is supply chain resiliency. And the sixth one is this is the impact of COVID-19. And the seventh is the US-China trade war. And last but not the least is the Ukraine war on supply chains. I congratulate NITIE for the success of this course with an over 350 plus industry participants from 11 countries contributing to making competent supply chain professionals with an enormous proficiency of the experts like Professor David Simchi-Levy and Professor Manoj Tiwari. My dear friends, as India is emerging as a hub of global startup, it is heartening to see that we are supporting, encouraging, and motivating our young entrepreneurs and innovators. I would also like to say that ancient India has bestowed to the world in the fields of astronomy, medical science, mathematics, yoga, fine arts, civil surgery, civil engineering, etc., and so many subjects. But again, I am requesting, even while teaching and studying supply chain and demand analytics, you can find relevant examples in the traditional Indian knowledge system. I would urge you all that special attention should be given to the Indian knowledge system, and this should be taught to our students also. Moving forward, the Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell has taken multiple initiatives such as the National Innovation Contest, Smart India Hackathon, and Victory 2.0 to promote the culture of ideation and innovation and venture development within higher educational institutions. Our goal is to promote innovation, entrepreneurship, critical thinking, and out-of-the-box thinking in our educational system, which is also reflected in the National Education Policy 2020. As we know, necessity is the mother of the invention or innovation. On the same lines, I would like to say that research should be done according to the needs and demands of the society. Along with fulfilling the basic needs of the society, it will also work for social upliftment. I would like to add that along with the quantity, the school, institutes, and universities should focus on the quality of innovation, research, and marketing skills. This will help us achieve the Atmanirbhar Bharat in the true sense. I am sure that this initiative will come out as an outcome of this exercise that will help and provide fresh momentum to India's growth engine. Thank you all. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Sir, I understand that despite your very busy and preoccupied schedule, you have given us time and spoken so nicely that the need of society and accordingly the research to be conducted, and also emphasized on the Indian knowledge system, which also we are part of many things which need to be done from that side. And sir, as you know very well, sir, our Prime Minister is the, I think, first top leader in this country who has talked about supply chain during the pandemic. And we are carrying away all such messages so that more and more people get trained in that line so that country can benefit from the professionals, trained professionals in this particular field. So thank you once again, sir, from core of our heart for digitally visiting NITIE. Of course, your physical visibility due, sir, and we will try our best to see you at NITIE Mumbai. And sir, along with you, one of the very old, our board member and also policy influencer, and who is also connected with several efforts of the government in North East, sir, Sri Atul Kulkarni ji. He is well connected with all of our policy members. So I request 2 minutes, Atul ji, to say something about your initiative in this direction, so that Mantri ji can know very well that, sir, how we are moving in that line. Please. Atul.
Namaskar. Namaskar, Honorable Minister, sir. It is actually against the protocol, and I think I would stay away from doing that. Just a point that I would like to make, as Professor Tiwari mentioned, I think NITIE has this prestigious legacy in this country to be the first institute focusing on supply chain. This was the institute which started the industrial engineering in the country. And I think the recent initiative by the Government of India to explore and see if NITIE can be converted and brought into the league of IIMs in the country. I think it is very heartening to see that. I personally have, with 20 years of experience in supply chain, I had the pleasure and honor of attending the first course which David conducted. And let me tell you, it was mind blowing. I mean, 18 lectures of 3 hours that I attended on over the weekends was worth attending. David, I must say that it was a very learning experience for me. And with my 20 years of involvement with the government on the port sector, as both as at the policy level, also at the execution level, I think this was quite insightful, and I see a lot of things happening both on the ground and also at the policy level, as everyone mentioned, whether we talk about PM Gati Shakti or Bharat Mala or various other infrastructure projects. And I work in the so-called difficult terrains of the Northeast, where all of these technologies are bringing huge transformation. We are probably the region in the country which is seeing the highest year-on-year growth when it comes to the e-commerce activity, and all that is happening because of the use of technology that we are seeing in the region. It is very good to see that NITIE has taken the initiatives in various leads that the government has talked about in NEP 2020. And one of the most important thing that NITIE is doing, I think, is engaging with the thought leaders like David and bring the international expertise to engage with the academia in the country. I'm deliberately using the word academia. I'm not talking about the students who are taking the course. It is the academia who would benefit more when we interact with the global thought leaders like David. And I'm sure that will lead to more and more improved learning by our students in the country. With this, I will stop here. I thank Honorable Minister for your kind words and also the views that you shared, and look forward to your visit to NITIE at the earliest opportunity. बहुत धन्यवाद.
So thank you, and now I request Minister to have vote of thanks for the function.
Yeah. Good evening and good morning to everyone. As we reach the end of closing ceremony, I, Ruchita Gupta, take this opportunity to express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone
Ma'am, we cannot hear you. You are not audible. No, ma'am, you are not audible.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So once again, good evening and good morning to everyone. As we reach to the end of the closing ceremony, I, Ruchita Gupta, take this opportunity to express a heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has made the global online certification course on supply chain and demand analytics launched under PM Gati Shakti scheme, a huge success with 350 plus industry participation from 11 plus countries. First, I would like to thank Professor David Simchi-Levy for kindly accepting our invitation to lead this course after completing 4 global online certification courses with NITIE. We are sure that our participants had an enriching experience by a unique teaching style with diverse case studies and practical examples. Thank you very much, sir. It is always our privilege to have you with this continued association with you. We are thankful to our chief guest, Shri Dr. Subhas Sarkar ji, Honorable Minister of State for Education, for gracing the event with his valuable presence and enlightening us with his words of wisdom, and highlighting the importance of domain for national growth and areas for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we have taken a note of it. Thank you very much, sir. We are truly honored to have you, sir, with us today. We thank guest of honor, Shri Prakash Gaur ji, CEO, National Highway Logistics Management Limited, for taking the time to join this event and sharing some great insights with us on creating an ecosystem and sharing with us about the 3 most needed and relevant projects. Thank you very much, sir. We thank our keynote speakers, Shri Dubey ji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, and Dr. Ravi Shankar, Professor, Operations and Supply Chain Management, Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Technology, for sharing their valuable and rich experience and giving insights on drones production incentives and policy initiatives. Thank you very much, sir. We are obliged and we are thankful to Mr. Atul Kulkarni ji, our board member, project consultant, and advisor, for joining us during this session and for his kind words. We are obliged to all our course participants for showing an overwhelming response to this course and believing in the brand of NITIE as one of the premier institutes in the country. We are sure that the course provided you with the contemporary insights for enhancing supply chain and business performance. As always, it is a matter of pride for us that this course has been launched, marketed, and has been successfully conducted completely in-house within a short span of time of just 20 days. We are incredibly grateful to our respected director, sir, Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari, sir, under whose visionary leadership and guidance this course was possible again. We thank our deans, board members, professor in charge, and staff across different domains for having mobilized all the resources needed for this program. We are also grateful to entire NITIE community for their continued encouragement and support. I thank our task force that was led by our faculty coordinators, Professor Rakesh Raut, Professor Maheshwar Singh Mahapatra, and myself. We especially thank our scholars team who did it effortlessly, led by Rosalind, Ronnie, Ramesh, Junaid, Anupam, with the support team of students Anmol, Aman, Rahul, Naman, Anuj, and Adnan, who handled the end-to-end execution of the entire course meticulously and have brought professionalism in the launch and execution. We hope that the industry participants will definitely apply the learnings in their respective sectors for business excellence. Once again, we, the entire team of the course, thank you all for attending the closing ceremony of this course. We are looking forward to your presence in future courses of NITIE. Now, I would request all dignitaries to kindly switch on their cameras for a group photograph. Thank you all. Now, we announced the end of the closing ceremony and thank you all for attending this session. Now we will proceed with the next proceedings of this session after 5 minutes break with Professor David.
Professor Theory, I would like to leave.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very well, sir. You are having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Kulkarni ji, you're also.
Thank you, sir.
So, David, we can start after 5 minute break, sir. Okay, sir?
5 minutes. I'll be back. Thank you.
Dear participants, we'll be starting our regular session, that is lecture number 8, in just 5 minutes. Please stay back and wait for the lecture to start. Thank you.